everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. On today's show, Bruno Fernandes, the best post-Fergie signing, could be on his way out of Manchester United this summer, and I have to say, I think it would be an absolute disgrace if we allow this to happen. Bruno Fernandes could be leaving Manchester United, and it's not coming from any old tier C, tier Z source. It's coming from Fabrizio Romano, a tier 1 source, saying that there is a possibility that Bruno Fernandes could leave Manchester United, as he's not sure what's happening right now with the manager situation and everything that's going on and the future of Manchester United. I'm going to be completely honest, I'm going to be getting into it. INEOS, the ownership, it's not doing anything for me right now. It's really not doing anything for me. And I think if things were being handled right now by the Glazers and the outcomes that we're seeing right now were happening under the Glazers, people would have a lot to say about it. INEOS, I really want to give them a chance, and I really hope that they can do good things for this football club. But there's a few things at the moment where I'm thinking this isn't being handled well, and I want to talk about it with you guys. Also, some more news coming out from Fabrizio Romano regarding the centre-back situation at Manchester United. There was a little talk that Manchester United could only go for one centre-back, but it looks like Manchester United are going to go deep into that centre-back market and hopefully bring two centre-backs in. What names are coming up? Where are Manchester United going to compromise? Will Everton have to sell Branthwaite on the cheap? Some more news coming out about that as well. But welcome everybody to the show. Get your reactions in, get your comments in. Bruno Fernandes, will he leave Manchester United? How would you feel if he did leave Manchester United? For me, it would be the heart of the club leaving Manchester United, and I'm absolutely against it happening. But let's read the news out first and foremost that's coming in from Fabrizio Romano, because when I seen it was Fabrizio Romano yesterday, I woke up. You know, I looked at my phone, my brother had texted me, and he said, Beth, this can't be true, this can't be true. I looked at it, a few Prosecco's deep out for an Italian meal, and I'd seen Fabrizio Romano had said Bruno Fernandes' agent is looking at top clubs in Europe and he's not made his final decision on Manchester United yet. And I thought, right. That would not have come out from Fabrizio Romano if there wasn't a concrete possibility that that could happen. I am now very, very, very worried. And I'm worried because Bruno Fernandes said in the interview, we know how open and honest he is, we know how much he loves the club. He said in the interview, I want to be at this club, I want to play for this club. If they want me to stay, I will stay. If they want me to go, I will go. So let's wake up, whoever's at Manchester United, and let's secure Bruno Fernandes' future. Like, he obviously doesn't feel, if he did leave, he obviously doesn't feel like the club want him. And that can only be possibly down to the situation right now, which is we're in limbo with the manager situation. We're not being able to attain to players in the summer transfer window. We're not being able to secure players' futures. And it's a really worrying time, I think, for me at the moment, if we could lose someone as important as Bruno Fernandes. But the news that Romano put out there is that Bruno Fernandes' agent has been around Europe this week to meet with important clubs and discuss the situations of clients, including Bruno Fernandes. Bruno's intention remains to win at Manchester United. To win in Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes wants to be part of a project that's winning. Bruno will make his final decision on his future when he understands the United project, including the manager situation, and that is coming from Fabrizio Romano as well. So Bruno Fernandes will make his final decision on his future when he understands the United project, including the manager situation. The problem here, and I think the problem here for Bruno, the problem here for other players that are coming into Manchester United, players that are leaving Manchester United, and the fans as well, is we don't have a clue right now what INEOS are planning to do with the manager situation. We don't have a clue. We don't know. There's speculation. There's people saying, I think he's going to go. There's people saying, I think he's going to stay. But nobody knows what is going to happen. If this was, you know, if Sir Jim and INEOS hadn't come into the club and this is the Glazers currently, people would be flying off the handle. I'm giving patience. I understand that INEOS want to come to the right decision. But the season, you know, the season ended, the Premier League season ended 2 weeks ago. The FA Cup was last week. We're still in limbo. We've had all week and nobody has any idea who the Manchester United manager is going to be. We're in June. It's the 1st of June today. Nobody knows who the Manchester United manager is going to be. We don't know any indication on if Erik ten Hag will be here next season or not. And if he does leave, who we're going to go for as a replacement. The transfer window opens in 2 weeks. The Euro starts in 2 weeks. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, a decision needs to be made, and a decision needs to be made for players like Bruno Fernandes, players that are coming into the club. Bruno, I personally think that if Erik ten Hag remains as manager, I think he'd want to stay. He said that he wants to stay, he wants to be part of a winning project. He said that in his interviews. You can understand why he wants to win. He's 29 years old. He's actually one of the players at this club that has standards, and he deserves to be winning. He deserves to be competing for the Premier League. He deserves to be playing in the Champions League. He's a world-class player. I feel like, playing in a mediocre team, and he's dragging us up. That's my opinions on Bruno. I know people have different ones, but there's a lot to be sorted out. Bruno needs to be spoken to by the United hierarchy. They need to present him with the project of Manchester United, and it needs to be a good one, and he needs to remain at the football club. And if INEOS let Bruno Fernandes slip this summer, I'll be gutted. There's a very, very few players at Manchester United that I feel like are untouchable, but Bruno Fernandes is one of them for me. But get your comments in down below. Hoppy says that Bruno Fernandes is doing a Rooney. Do you remember when Rooney basically said he was going to leave because he felt like there wasn't good enough transfers coming in and he wanted the ambitions of the club to be higher? That's what Hoppy is referring to in that. Bruno Fernandes, keep sell in the poll. Eunice says there's absolutely no clarity about anything. INEOS are confused as Ashworth is still silent. Jeff Judo says if we let Bruno, Casemiro and Varane go in one summer, the club is done. Lee Willoughby says, why are some voting to sell? Honestly, at the moment, it's 86% that say keep Bruno Fernandes, which I'm absolutely happy about. But for me, it should be like 99, 100%. I don't think people would realise what Bruno Fernandes brings to this team until he's gone. And I hear a lot of people saying we need to let players like Bruno go to rebuild and invest in the project. You could get a lot of money for Bruno. You could. He's an unbelievable player, and there'll be many top clubs sniffing around him, 100%. But the reason why he should stay at Manchester United is he's the heart and soul of that club. Okay, yeah, you do need to rebuild, but you should be rebuilding with someone like Bruno. And people say, well, he's 29. You can't just have a team full of youth. You have to have some experienced players in there. Bruno knows the club inside out. He's an unbelievable player. His work rate is absolutely insane. He's the captain of the team. He's one of the most creative players in Europe. He's unbelievable. We should be building around someone like that. And not only that, he knows the club. He cares about the club. He gives everything. He'll play in any position. He'll play with one leg injured at centre-back against Liverpool to get you over the line. He will do everything. He's a type of player that you want. For me, he's a warrior. And he's somebody that I think sets a brilliant example to all the other players coming through. He's one of the good ones in Manchester United. And I think you would miss his presence so much. I mean, you just saw at the end of the season when he was out with injury. You could see, we didn't score a goal while Bruno wasn't in the team. You could see how much we missed him. You could see how much we missed his energy. You could see how much he missed his leadership. It all just seemed a little bit flat without him. And of course, no player is bigger than the club. No player is bigger than Manchester United. But in an era where there's been a lot of lows, you would say, post-Fergie to now, Manchester United has been unsuccessful and there's been many lows. But Bruno Fernandes is a shining light of that for me. The best post-Fergie signing, and somebody that has given me a lot of joy as a Manchester United fan in these years that haven't been great. So for me, to allow Bruno Fernandes to leave the club would be an absolutely massive, massive blunder. And I think if it does happen, it's because we're stuck in limbo waiting for INEOS to make a decision about a manager and a project. Present the project, show how we're going to get back onto a winning track, show how we're going to compete for Champions League and Premier Leagues, and keep Bruno Fernandes at the club. And you know what? If he requires a pay rise, he requires a pay rise, and I'm absolutely happy to give him that. Usually, with most players, I'm like, we don't want too high of a wage, we don't want to get silly with it, and with Bruno, I don't want to get silly with it either. But, for example, Mason Mount earns more than Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United. And I like Mason Mount, but that should not be the case. That should not be the case. There's multiple players at that football club that earn more than Bruno Fernandes. For me, Bruno Fernandes should be the highest paid player. I think Marcus Rashford earns at least 100 grand more than Bruno a week, which I find crazy, considering what Bruno gives week in, week out to that football club, and I think he's the best and most valuable player at the football club. So maybe he requires a pay rise, but honestly, with Bruno and with what Fabrizio Romano was saying, I don't think that it's about money for Bruno. I don't think it's about money. He's said it in interviews, he's been honest. He wants the club to show him that we're competing for the best trophies, because that's what Manchester United should be doing. He wants to compete for the Champions League. He wants to compete for the Premier League. We're nowhere near at it. And of course, you know, you can't rebuild everything in one summer, and that's what Bruno might be thinking. He might be thinking, you know what, I'm 29 years old. I want to go and win trophies. I want to be going to compete at the highest level. Man United are quite a few years off that yet, and you can't do a full rebuild in 1 year, and the time is ticking. But I think Bruno is a professional that looks after himself. You can see how energetic he is. You can see, you know, he's going to be a player that plays into his mid-30s at least. He is going to be, because of the way he looks after himself and the way he plays. And he's already said, you know, he can see himself dropping a bit deeper in the future as he progresses into his career, into his later years. So I do think there's a project to be built with Bruno. I just think we need to get on with it, and we need to have that project outlined quick. In my opinion, INEOS need to make a decision on this manager. You either keep him or you bring someone else in. Honestly, if I'm Bruno and if I'm Manchester United, if you want the project to be quicker, so be winning things, you keep Erik ten Hag. Because if you sack Erik and bring in a new manager, it's a complete new rebuild. You know, players stay again in the summer because the manager wants to take a look at him. You're then on to next year and you're thinking, oh, this is the manager's first proper summer, because he'll probably come in late this season. It'll probably be a load of drama to do with that. And then you basically, Erik ten Hag, okay, yeah, we finished 8th, but he's had 2 years at the football club. He knows the players, he knows the squad, he knows how to take this project forward. He's made mistakes, he's learned from them, he's understood what the Premier League is now. And now it's time to kick on and move forward. You get rid of Erik ten Hag, you bring in a new manager, the project resets, you start again, you start from scratch, and you're further behind, in my opinion. And that's not good for players like Bruno, who the clock is ticking. He is 29, which obviously isn't old, but in footballing terms, you are coming towards the last, third of, you'd say, of your career, and he wants to win. And if you want to win, and you're in the state that Manchester United are in right now, bringing a new manager in, you know that project's going to take quite a long time. With Erik ten Hag, okay, yeah, this has been a really poor season, but you're in a project. You can kick on. We're 2 years into it. The foundations have been laid. You know, there has work been done behind the scenes. Ten Hag said that. Even though it's been our worst finish in the Premier League, a lot of work has been done behind the scenes to get to this point in terms of where we're at with the squad and how we can move forward. So, yeah, they're my thoughts. For me, keeping Ten Hag is the first thing on keeping Bruno Fernandes. And also, we need to hurry up, not only just on the manager, but in just terms of outlining our project for the summer to our players, but also to players that we want to bring in as well. But anyway, get your comments in, keep voting on the poll. James Smith says, how much does everyone think Bruno is worth in the transfer market? I think Bruno Fernandes in the transfer market, for me, he's £100 million player. Bruno, he's a £100 million player, and people might say that's crazy because he's 29. Harry Kane went for what, 90 million to Bayern Munich? Bruno Fernandes, for me, is a midfielder of what he can offer. He has to be around 90 million. He has to be. He's so good. He's honestly so good, and people that can't see it, I can't understand it. But please get your comments in. Please get your comments in the comments. Everyone's laughing at me, 100 million, but you look at what other players are going for. I think he's worth at least 90. Sorry, I had a sneeze there. Oh God, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze again. No, I'm not. God, I'm picking up. Goldbridge always has his sneeze. I'm picking up the sneeze now. But anyway, we can move on with the show. Make sure you get your super chats in, by the way. Get your opinions in on Bruno Fernandes. Get your opinions in on INEOS. I really want to hear them. I want to hear how you're feeling, because I've been really kind of patient with INEOS, but me and my brother were having a conversation about it last night, and I'm getting more and more frustrated. I'm getting more and more frustrated. I think the way we've handled the manager situation now is looking so amateurish, and we've handled it wrong. We've handled it wrong. We really have. How we're still in the dark over this situation now in June is, for me, it's embarrassing, and it should not be happening. Like Chelsea, as badly as they're run, which they have been, I thought it was the wrong decision to sack Poch. But they got on with it. They've got a new manager in and they're heading towards the summer and they're planning. Like, I want Ten Hag to stay. But if you're not going to keep him, don't just wait around for the right time, hoping that the noise from the fans are going to die down. Make a decision and tell us what your decision is so we can build towards the summer and build towards the future. I am getting impatient and I'm getting frustrated. And, you know, players like Bruno Fernandes potentially leaving the football club as well, that is alarm bells ringing off to me. And the one thing I would say, if we allow Bruno Fernandes to leave this summer and there's still other players in that squad that are staying, I'm going to be like, what is going on? If we allow, you know, Raphael Varane and Bruno Fernandes to leave Manchester United and I still see, you know, Lindelof, Maguire, Eriksen, you know, people like that at the club next season, my head will start falling off. My head will generally start falling off because we need to keep the good ones and we need to shift on the players that aren't good enough. Let's stop thinking about money. Let's stop thinking about, you know, contracts. Let's keep the good players and get rid of the ones that aren't good enough. You know, if... I don't know what INEOS might be thinking. They might be thinking, you know what, we could get 80 million for Bruno. We could do that. That could be money that comes into our transfer kitty. You know, you're not going to get that sort of money for other players, which is why they'll end up staying on the big contracts that they're on. But for me, Bruno Fernandes, he's untouchable because of how good he is and what he provides for the football club. Okay, yeah, there is some players that might be harder to move on. Because guess what? They're harder to move on because they're on big contracts and they're not good enough. So other clubs don't want to go and get them. The reason why we can make money off of Bruno is because he's worth it, because there's value in him and we should be keeping the valuable players at Manchester United and building off them. And the players that aren't quite good enough and probably aren't gathering as much interest, sell them, and if you have to take a loss on it, take a loss on it. You know, you've come into the football club, we're wiping the slate clean. Sometimes you're going to have to take them losses. I'll be gutted if Bruno leaves and there's other players at that club that, for me, aren't good enough and have been hanging around for way too long, are still there next season. Got some super chats in. Tom Van Rouge says, INEOS is just as slow as the Glazers. You'd almost think they still own the majority of the club. How are we blaming Ten Hag? Exactly, and people forget this. You know, INEOS do only have 25%. And I have been told by very, very, very reliable people that I won't name that the Glazers, and it's been put out in the media as well, so it's not like a scoop from Beth. The Glazers are notoriously very, very, very slow decision makers, very slow. And for example, as much as like John Murto and has been slagged off, like if he's wanted to get a deal signed off in the past by the Glazers, he'll be waiting for such a long time for it. So it's like, oh, we're going to bid like 50 million for Lisandro Martinez. Can we do that? The Glazers will spend days deliberating over it. Yes, you can. They've rejected that. We're going to go in with 57 million. Days go by for the Glazers deliberating it. Then they say, oh yeah, you can do that. So if INEOS are reporting to the Glazers, which, you know, they are still going to be involved in some of the decision making, that probably slows the process up as well. But pairing that with the fact that INEOS have said, you know, they want to be patient, which I can understand. Being patient to reach the right decision, I can understand. You don't want to rush into things and get things wrong. I understand being patient and coming to the right conclusion, but there's a difference between jumping, 5 foot and jumping 20 foot. Like, let's draw the line here. We have been patient as fans and we need to get on with this process. So I would take Tom's super chat, which is a great super chat, into consideration. It's not just INEOS running the club. They still are, they are dealing with the Glazers, who are notoriously very slow decision makers. So that's going to make an impact on this as well. Steg5 says, INEOS doing themselves no favours with fans. Can't even make the first simple decision to keep the manager. That's what I mean. Like, I was so team INEOS. I was really excited. I mean, I did want a full takeover, don't get me wrong, before INEOS came in. But when they came in, I thought, we've got INEOS now. It looks like they really want to make a difference. We got the appointment of Omar Barada, which everyone was saying was such a good, was such a good appointment for Manchester United. He had a lot of respect on his name. I was very excited about that. And then we got into sporting directors. I was really excited for this summer and I was really excited for this new era. But this whole manager thing at the end of the season off the back of the FA Cup, it's just put a real downer on the whole situation for me. And it's really just kind of put a dark cloud over the situation, because this isn't the way it should have been handled, in my opinion. And I don't think there's any excuse for why we're, 2 weeks after the end of the season, we still don't have a decision. I don't think there's an excuse. If you can provide me with an excuse for that, please do. But I don't think there is one. You were going to sack the manager after the cup final. You have done your review. Don't come out a week later saying we're doing a thorough review of the season. You've done your review because you were going to sack him. And you were doing your review ever since you walked through the door. You've done your review. If you're going to sack him, just do it. Just do it. Waiting, you know, a couple of weeks for the noise to go down and saying it's because of a thorough review. I mean, people can see through that, in my opinion. I mean, I hope Ten Hag stays and I hope they do U-turn the decision, but he was going to leave after the cup final. So to say now you're doing a thorough review, you've done your review. The only way that they actually are doing a full review is they're thinking, hang on a second, we might actually want to keep Ten Hag. Shall we go through everything again? That's the only kind of conclusion I can come to. Dazzo said Bruno created the most chances in the Premier League since he joined. Defo worth 100 million. I mean, I don't think I'm far off. I think it's 90 to 100. Fat Nugan says, hi Beth, my fear is that we will unlikely find someone with a big impact like Bruno this summer. And that's why I say, you know, how can you put a price tag on Bruno? How can you do that? Who can you bring into Manchester United that's going to have the same impact as Bruno Fernandes? You're looking at a lot of money. Like, I think Bruno Fernandes is untouchable because of what he provides. I don't think I see any player in the world that gives what he does, like plays for the badge like he does. And, you know, he's talented, yeah, but there's so much more of that from Bruno. It's the mentality, it's the work rate, it's the captaincy, it's the leadership, it's everything about him. James Smith says, how much does everyone think Bruno's worth? We've done that one. And then United One says, what's with the sudden agenda against INEOS just because they won't publicly back Erik ten Hag? Trust the process and all the moves so far has been positive. I have no agenda against INEOS, none at all. I've said I've wanted them to do well. I've backed them. I've been really patient with them. And I still am hoping for that. But I'm allowed to have an opinion and say that I think the manager situation has been handled poorly. And I'm not saying it's been handled poorly because I think they're going to sack Ten Hag. That's not the reason United won. I've just said, if they want to sack Ten Hag, I'm not in agreement with it. I would keep him, personally. But if they want to sack Ten Hag, they need to just do it. What I have the issue with is how long it's taking. Keep him or get rid of him. You've been in since Christmas. You know surely what you want to do. That's my issue. I have no agenda. I want them to do well. So far, there's been positive steps. Omar Barada, I've just said it was a good appointment. I've just said that. We are making changes. You know, in the transfer window, it looks like we're going for younger talents. It looks like we're going to be a little bit more... How would I describe it? It looks like we're going to be smarter, basically, in the decisions we make in the transfer window and not overpaying, going for talents at a young age that are maybe a little bit cheaper that we can develop. I'm happy with some of the things INEOS are doing, but I'm going to be honest with you guys on the show. I don't think the manager situation has been handled well. And it's put a little bit of a dark cloud over the hype for me. That's what's happened. That's my honest opinion. We've got Grace Sheridan saying, if Erik ten Hag leaves, will Erik ten Hag players want to stay? Yeah, they're at Manchester United. Like, you know, managers come and go. That's the way the footballing world is. Like, Lisandro Martinez will still want to stay at United. I'm sure, you know, other players like Rasmus will still want to stay at United. Like, Anthony will still want to stay at United. Of course, like, they've not come purely for Erik ten Hag. They've come to play for Manchester United. But the issue is the next manager that comes in, as much as I love Lisandro Martinez and I want to build around him, not every manager's going to want a 5'9", 5'10" centre-half. I do, because I think he's brilliant and I don't think his height defines him. But they're the other issues you have if you get rid of Ten Hag as well. Like, are they going to want the players that Ten Hag has brought in and they're working with? Make sure you hit a like on the video, everyone. Loving the discussion so far, loving the different opinions. Rory C says, we don't know what INEOS are thinking. My fear is that they don't know themselves what they want to do. And that's my fear as well, because they were going to... Like, the rumour is, and the strong rumour is that they were going to get rid of Ten Hag after the cup final. But we have no idea what manager they were going to bring in. We got linked to McKenna. I had Ben Jacobs on the other day talking about Pochettino, talking about Potter, talking about Tuchel. But we have no concrete answer of who they want to bring in unless they've done something very, 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 very on the low and very confidential. Like, we heard the rumour from Bayern that they think Tuchel's got a secret agreement with United. I don't believe it, but maybe. And then obviously the De Zerbi one keeps coming to the forefront of my mind. Brighton and De Zerbi parted ways. And Brighton took the fee down for De Zerbi to allow De Zerbi to go on and move on with his managerial career if he went to another club. Have we done something there confidentially? I doubt it, but these things start to come into your mind. Keep getting your votes in, keep getting your chats in. Bruno Fernandes, keep 85%, sell 15%. Just got a couple of things I wanted to talk about with Bruno Fernandes as well, and things that I wanted to say is why I would say no to selling him and why I think he's one of the few players that's untouchable. He goes into the Garnacho, Mainu and Højlund bracket for me. Best post-Fergie signing, which I've already spoken about, for me personally, is the best player at Manchester United. You know, he gives everything to the club. He plays in various positions. He will play anywhere on the pitch. You can see the elevation when he plays for you compared to when he doesn't play for you. I just think we would be dropping the ball massively if we allowed this transfer to happen. But also you think to yourself, what club would Bruno Fernandes go to? There's talks of Bayern Munich being interested in him. Would they want to pay the money for him? Would Bruno want to go there? You know, people have spoken about a Frenkie de Jong, Bruno Fernandes swap previously, of him going to Barca and Frenkie coming here. Don't see that happening in a million years. Would I swap Bruno Fernandes for Frenkie de Jong? No, I wouldn't. As much as I rate Frenkie de Jong, that's how highly I rate Bruno. No, I wouldn't. So with Bruno, this is the last I'm going to talk about it, and keep your comments coming in. But what I would say for him, I would not blame him if he wants to leave. And I've seen people in the comments saying, you know, we don't want anyone staying at the club who doesn't want to be here. Bruno wants to be here. He said he wants to be here. The only reason he will leave is because if he thinks the project at Manchester United isn't good enough for us to be competing for Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues within the time that he's available to do that, within the time he's still playing football at Manchester United. That's the reason he will leave. He wants to win. He wants to win trophies, and I don't blame him for wanting to do that. He's a player that deserves to do it. He's a world-class footballer. I think he's underrated. I think if he was in a genuinely good side, you know, for example, if he was in like a City or a Real Madrid or an Arsenal, I'm not saying he would get into like these sides because, you know, they've got unbelievable players. But if he was in like a top side competing, even if he was in like, you know, an Arsenal or something like that, I think he'd be so much more highly rated than what he currently is. Like, I think he gets underrated because he's in such a poor United side. And obviously because of some of his antics on the field, like, you know, he is dirty sometimes. You know, he can have a bit of a whinge and a whine. And I do think people take them elements of his personality and then put him down in terms of his ability to be a footballer. Bruno Fernandes is a world-class footballer, in my opinion, and should be competing for the biggest trophies. And if he does leave Man United, it's because the project that's presented to him, he doesn't think that Man United can do that under that project. That's the reason he'll leave. I hope he stays. I really hope he stays. He says he wants to stay. That's what he said. So if he leaves, questions have to be asked on how that is allowed to happen. There's also people that think that Mason Mount was originally bought to be Bruno Fernandes' replacement. There is that theory around the fan base that people think Mason Mount was bought to be Bruno Fernandes' successor. I don't think that was the case. I think Bruno Fernandes, there hasn't been plans for him to move on. And I think Mason Mount was bought. I think Erik ten Hag wanted to make him into an 8. I think he wanted him to play the Eriksen role. Kobbie Mainoo came in and absolutely killed it. And we're struggling to find a position for Mason Mount, to be quite honest, as good as he is. And he's obviously not helped by injuries, but I don't think he was ever meant to be the Bruno successor. Maybe he was, but get in the comments what you think about that. But I think Bruno is a completely different player to Mount, and I like Mount. And you need 2 quality players for each position. Mount's got areas he can play in the squad. He can play off the left, he can play off the right. I think he can play as an 8 in certain games, and I'd like to see him adapt more to that next season. I think with a solid defence behind him, a new number 6, you know, Mount could play in that role. He can also play Bruno's role as well. Mount has got a future at this Man United side, he has, but there is that theory in the fan base. Get in the comments what you think. Solid Blake says Mount can't replace him if he's always injured. Michelle says Mount was a mistake. Pap says Erik ten Hag wanted to convert Mount into Frenkie de Jong. It won't work. Oh, no, come on right now. Someone in the chat has just said no one would pay over 50 million for Bruno. Are you joking? God, see, that sort of... I can't fathom like that type of opinions. Like, everyone deserves an opinion and the community has some great ones, but come on right now. We're in a world where we're talking about buying Jared Branthwaite for 75 million and you're telling me no one would pay over 50 million for Bruno? Come on, have you not had your morning coffee? Come on now. Come on now. Someone's hungover from the night before. Come on. Come on. But yeah, that's the news on Bruno Fernandes. I would be gutted if he left. Absolutely gutted. But that's the situation. Keep getting your comments in. Move on to the next part of the show, and we're talking about the centre-backs, and this is some more news from Fabrizio Romano. And Fabrizio Romano has said, according to my information, there's a concrete possibility for Manchester United to sign 2 centre-backs this summer, a left-sided centre-back and a right-sided centre-back. What I'm hearing is that they've started inquiring for left-footed centre-backs in recent days. So Fabrizio Romano there saying what we all wanted to hear. Manchester United are looking to sign 2 centre-backs, and that is absolute music to my ears, because honestly, I was so worried that we were only going to sign 1, because over the last week we've been hearing all this stuff about how little money Manchester United have, how many corners we're going to have to cut in terms of walking away from deals because they're too expensive. But to hear that Manchester United are in the race to sign 2 centre-backs, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because I've been saying it for months. With Varane going, obviously you've got to replace him with an elite partner to partner Lisandro Martinez, but you also need cover for Lisandro Martinez because of the injury issues you have. You need 2 top right-sided centre-backs and 2 top left-sided centre-backs. For me, it's going to be Lisandro and a new left-sided centre-back that we bring in, and then you also have Luke Shaw for that extra cover as well, but predominantly you want him playing at left-back. And then you've got the new centre-back that we bring in to be the right-sided centre-back, and you're probably going to have Maguire there as well, which, you know, you can't move on everyone in one summer. So, you know, I wouldn't be against it, but as long as you bring in a top quality right-sided centre-back, that's going to be the first choice. You know, you can't get rid of everyone in one summer, and Maguire has been pretty decent this season, so I do think he'll end up staying because of the wages and stuff, and Lindelof will be the one that departs. And then as in the squad in the background, you have Evans. I would keep him on for another year. As a squad player, we know what he can bring. And also you've got Kumbuado as well, who's kind of earning his stripes and coming up through the youth, might even end up going on a little loan. So that's what would happen. We've just got a chat in there that I want to answer. Sheikh says, Beth, thoughts on Euro? I've talked about Euro. I think he could be the next Varane for us. I think he looks insane. He's only 18 years old. The future he has, the attributes he has, brilliant on the ball, aggressive, good in the air, reads danger superbly well, anticipates danger, great in the tackle. He's got all the attributes. He's such an exciting modern centre-back, Euro. At Lille, I think Real Madrid will go for him. He looks like he's got Real Madrid all over him, written all over him. But if Real Madrid kind of, you know, take a pause on that deal because they're looking to get the Mbappe deal done and they've got other priorities, United need to get in there on Euro. I think Euro is quality. I really do. So I would love to bring him to Manchester United. But in terms of the right-sided centre-back, you know, you're looking at the Todibo. Todibo's one that keeps coming up for Manchester United. He's someone that Manchester United might well go for. But in terms of the left-sided centre-back, it's always been Jared Branthwaite. It's always been Jared Branthwaite for Manchester United. And interestingly enough, before the show, Ben Jacobs actually put a little update on Everton's situation, and Everton have just confirmed that their proposed 7-7 partners takeover is off. They are in massive financial difficulty, Everton. They need to sell. If Man United wait on this Branthwaite deal till like the last week of June, if nobody else comes in for Branthwaite, that is, by the way, because others might, because he is, you know, a good up-and-coming Premier League proven centre-back, you could be able to drive the price down on Branthwaite. And I think that's what Manchester United will do. I envision Manchester United going and getting the right-sided centre-back quite early doors. I hope in the window, because it's a position we have to get. Varane is gone. We have to go and get the right-sided centre-back sorted. If you want to go to for Todibo, that deal could be wrapped up very quickly. He's not going to the Euros. Let's be honest, he wants to come to the Premier League. He wants to come to Manchester United. INEOS are involved in Nice. They're involved in Manchester United. It's going to be around 40 million. That deal could be wrapped up quicker than, you know, comment down below. But that deal could, God, that deal could be wrapped up very quickly, is what I would say. That deal could be wrapped up very quickly. The left-sided centre-back, Branthwaite, I think Branthwaite's our top choice. I think we'll try and drive the price down in the last weeks of June. If we can't get it to around 55 mil, which is where I would be happy at to go for Branthwaite, then we will walk away from that deal and we'll have other options on our list. Mark Gay is one that keeps coming up. I don't think we'll go for Mark Gay, as good as he is, because he is a left-sided centre-back, but he's right-footed predominantly, and we know how much Erik ten Hag likes a left footer if Erik ten Hag is still the manager. And Romano has literally name-dropped their left-footed centre-backs. John Lucumi is somebody that you could look at as well. Bologna centre-back, 25 years old, Colombian. He's someone that's kind of come up on the cards recently. And there's other centre-backs that Manchester United are scouting that are left-footed as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But Branthwaite is definitely our number one. And it'll be interesting to see if we can drive the price down on that. Todibo and Branthwaite, they're always been the two that we thought he's going to be. But there's been other names mentioned. You know, Gleison Bremer's been mentioned. I know he's not left-footed and he's not left-sided. He's another one to look at for the right-sided centre-back. Also, we have some news coming in on Diamande from Sporting that I'm going to bring to you in a second as well. So get your opinions in on the centre-back situation in Manchester United. Also, don't forget tossing someone that you can bring in turning Irish there. Someone that you can bring in on a free transfer. United still aren't fully out of that deal. If we're looking to save money, he's someone we could go for. Chalobah as well, 25 million is the rumoured price. Right-sided centre-back, wouldn't rule that out if we're looking to save money. Depends how much we're looking to spend on a Branthwaite, because we know Manchester United really like him. Also depends if we go for the right-sided centre-back first over the left-sided centre-back, which I feel like we have to. The right-sided centre-back is where we should be spending the bulk of our money and should be the priority, in my opinion. Like, you know, if Man United have a budget, for me, the majority of our centre-back budget should be going on getting the right-sided centre-back right, because that's the person that's going to be partnering Lisandro Martinez for years to come. We need to get that right. So we should be focusing on that, and then if we can get Branthwaite for cut price in June, go for it. If you can't, then look at the other options that are going to come to the table, I would expect, in the next few weeks for Manchester United, as more leaks come out of who we're looking at and inquiring about, as Romano says. Some more super chats before I get into the Diamande news. Sanil Dewan says, will they make an announcement if Erik ten Hag stays? Ben Jacobs said that he doubts they'll make like a formal announcement, but it will get leaked to the press as soon as the news is out there, and there might be a little word from Sir Jim Ratcliffe about moving forward in the future, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. I doubt it. Shooting says, INEOS probably making other decisions besides keeping Ten Hag, but if they want him gone, he probably would have been announced. Grace Sheridan says, what worries do you think INEOS have about Erik ten Hag? Honestly, he's not their guy. I think it's as simple as that. He's not their guy. They didn't employ him. Usually when your new owners coming into a new project, and I know they're not full owners, you want your guy. You want the guy you've got in. And I think they want someone who is going to fit in their sporting structure that they're creating. You know, they want the coach to coach, and they want the bulk of the power when it comes to, you know, signings, incomings, outgoings, etc., etc. And I have no issue with that, by the way. I've explained it on previous shows, so I don't want to go over old ground. But I do think transfer power should be taken away from the manager. A lot of it, to be honest with you. I do think we should have an expert recruitment team. It's the way the top clubs work. You know, Liverpool, City both do this. But they both allow their managers a big say. Like Pep has control over outgoings. He has control over the squad. He has to say yes and no. He's involved in the conversations. The same with what I would say Klopp was at Manchester United as well. So, and I think Ten Hag can be that guy. He doesn't have to have full power, but I still think it should be a partnership. I don't think it should be just the recruitment team and then a coach. And I don't think it should be manager has all the power. I think the recruitment team should do what they do best. And I think they should have I'm wording that wrong. They should have the main bulk of the power when it comes to transfers and scouting. But I do think the manager should also be involved. So I just think it's whether Ten Hag fits the structure, to be honest with you. And obviously the results this season haven't been great. The performances haven't been good either. That's obviously another question mark, whether that can improve. So they'll be looking at a lot of things when it comes to Ten Hag. United won, I've done that one. And yeah, I've done all the super chats up till now. Thank you for your contributions. Happy Saturday, everyone. Thank you for getting your conversations in, getting your chats in. Vicky says, I just pray Martinez stays fit now. That's like a new signing in itself. Absolutely. Shinner says, Trev would be a bargain of a signing for 25 million. He's a brilliant defender, can play right back as well. He's just not great in aerial duels. That's his weakness. Chalobah, to be honest with you, he's not someone that's a glitz and glamour signing. It's not someone when you sign you think, yeah, I'm really buzzing. United have signed Chalobah, but for 25 million in the age profile, it could be a decent signing. It's not someone that massively excites you. What I've seen of him at the end of this season, he's been pretty decent for Chelsea, but United want someone exciting. You want someone that's going to come in and you think, yes, they're the guy for us. Chalobah is a decent player. I don't know if he can take that next step at Manchester United or not, but I'd be willing to explore it because I think 25 million for a player of that quality is relatively cheap, to be honest with you. But keep your comments coming in. You've got United one saying here, heard Wilcox advised Erik ten Hag to change the setup in the last games. I don't know if I believe that, to be honest with you. I don't think Jason Wilcox is saying behind the scenes, you know what, Eric, I reckon you should play a false 9 for the City game. I don't think so. I think that's just rumours, to be honest with you. But you never know at Manchester United. You never know. But on another centre-back that could be... Also, on the 2 centre-back situation with Romano, I don't know where this money's coming from because we're being told we don't have much money and we're going to have to make compromises and we barely have any money to spend in the summer. Yet, we're going for 2 centre-backs, according to Romano. We're definitely buying a left-back. We're definitely buying a striker. Elise is one that United really want to go and get. And we're going to have to buy another midfielder. That's 6 signings already. And not cheap, by the way. Not cheap signings. The only cheap one, we know with the left-back we're not going to spend too much. We know it's going to be around 20 million. We're looking at Kirkes, etc., etc. But, Elise is going to cost you around 60 mil. You see, if you get to Debo, it's 40. You get Branthwaite, it's probably around 50 to 60. If not even more, depending on where we go with that one. You look at the striker, that's probably going to be at least 50 million. The midfielder to replace Casemiro, you're looking at least, in my opinion, 50 to 60 million. Like, there's money that is going to be spent. So where is it coming from? Yeah, okay, you're going to get wages off the books if Casemiro leaves and you will get a fee from him from Saudi, but the fee's looking to only be around 30 million, as Ben Jacobs was saying, and that's like on a good day. I know you're getting his wages off the books and stuff like that, but you don't have any left-back going out to kind of fund the left-back that's coming in. Talks about Wan-Bissaka might go, but then you'd have to replace him as well. How much money realistically are you going to get for Lindelof if he departs the club? There's Eriksen as well. If he goes, how much money are you going to get for him? You would expect not much. So, and in terms of a striker coming in, you've Martial going out, and okay, you're saving on his wages, but there's no fee coming in for that. So there's money, it's not adding up, like, in terms of, we keep getting told we've not got much money to spend, but apparently we're getting all of these signings, so we'll see how the summer plays out. It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. Stefan says, Beth, there's no chance United get Kirkes not for 20 million. I'm not saying we will get Kirkes for 20 million, but I'm saying that's a player we've been linked to. But what we've been told is, on the left-back situation, we really only want to be spending 20 to 25 million max. I'm not saying that you'd be able to go and get Kirkes for that, but he's definitely someone that Manchester United are looking at 100%. He's someone that has caught our eye. I don't know what his price would be. I need to look into that for sure. But last but not least, a little bit of the show, in terms of an outsider potential for a centre-back, 20-year-old centre-back, Sporting centre-back, Ousmane Diomande. It is understood that Manchester United are considering Diomande in their search to replace Raphael Varane. Sporting need to raise money, and as little as 35 million could be enough to sign the 20-year-old, with interest also cooling elsewhere in the Premier League. So Diomande has been popular in the Premier League in terms of a transfer target. There's been rumours that he could be on the move this summer. Apparently the interest has started to cool, and Manchester United have started to really look at that as a potential possibility to bring him in as a Varane replacement. All I know is that his passing out from the back is superb in terms of playing a possession-based system. He's young, he's 20 years old, he's physical, he's tall. He's someone that I like the look of. The centre-back market in the minute is booming, by the way. The centre-back market, Man United are obviously in that market, and they're looking to overhaul the defence. The market is booming. There's some quality young centre-backs coming up through the ranks. There really is. And at 20 years old, with the quality Diomande has for 35 million, he'd probably be a very decent deal to do, especially if Sporting do need the money. I know he's not somebody that's like a flashy name that's on the top of everybody's list, but he's somebody that I would generally go and look at because he's got a lot of potential and he ticks a lot of the boxes for what Manchester United are looking for. So that is an outside kind of shout for Manchester United. I don't think we'll go for him, by the way. I don't think he'll end up coming to Manchester United. But he's somebody that is on the list and has been spoken about before. I really like Inacio. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Inacio, he's the left-sided centre-back at Sporting. I think he looks great. I think he'd be a little bit more money, to be honest with you. And I think he's someone that I think Manchester United should have their eye on. There's a lot of good centre-backs out there in the market right now. I asked you on the other day, get in your comments who'd be your top three. There's so many that United are linked to. If I just list them off, you know, you've got Diamande, you've got Branthwaite, you've got Mark Gahey, you've got Kilman, you've got Todibo, you've got Chalobah, you've got Tosin, you've got Bremer, you've got Scalvini. Like, I could get up to 10 centre-backs at Manchester. Yoro, you've got like 10 centre-backs, if not more, that Manchester United are linked to. We're probably going to buy 2 max, could even be 1. Or you could buy 1 and then toss in on a free, which obviously it's still a centre-back, but, you know, if you're getting someone on a free, it's not as kind of, you know, you are still signing them, but you're not spending a big chunk of money on it. So there's so many centre-backs that we're looking at. And, you know, in a few months' time, we'll know who's going to be Man United centre-backs going into next season. But there could be some outside shouts in there that come to the forefront that we've not spoken so much about. And I honestly don't think it's nailed on to be a Todibo. I don't think it's nailed on to be a Branthwaite. I think they're at the top of our list. They massively are at the top of our list. But there could be other centre-backs that creep into the fold that we end up going for various different reasons. You know, wages, money, you know, preference of the coach. If Erik ten Hag's still manager, yeah, he probably does want Todibo and Branthwaite, because we know that Erik ten Hag's liked Todibo for a long time, and, you know, Branthwaite is probably somebody that he's looked at and he likes as well. Whereas, you know, if Erik ten Hag isn't the coach, the next coach might not fancy a Todibo. They might want someone completely different. So that's another reason as well why the manager situation needs sorting out. And I know a lot of you guys will say, yeah, but INEOS are doing the majority of the recruitment. Of course they are, and they are putting that recruitment team together. And, you know, targets will still be the same whether a new manager comes in or not. But you would expect that a new manager will at least have a say. And even though Erik ten Hag has said yes to Todibo, yes to Branthwaite, that doesn't mean the new manager is going to do that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. That's why we need to get the manager situation sorted out, and we need to get a hurry on. The last thing I want is heading off to that pre-season tour with no signings under our belt and being in the same situation that we've been in under previous years under the Glazers. We want something new. We want something fresh. We want to be run like a well-oiled machine. We want to be run like a club with ambition, that knows what they're doing, that has a plan. At the moment, I can't see a plan. I hope as soon as the manager situation gets resolved, we'll start seeing a proper plan put into place. The worries about Bruno leaving will go to the back of our minds, and we'll be able to get on with the summer and we'll have positive signings. But at the moment, there doesn't seem to be a plan, and we have no idea what's happening with the manager situation. And we're in June, and the Euros kicks off in 2 weeks. So we really need to get things sorted, and INEOS, for me, need to massively hurry up. Keep getting your likes on the video. The poll is keep Bruno 85%, sell 15%. Thanks everyone for your super chats. I've just seen someone say, what does Mark think about the Bruno situation? Well, I spoke to Mark about it this morning. Let me just open the WhatsApp and see what he said. So Mark said it's outrageous considering that Bruno wants to stay, so it must be the club dithering again. So obviously, you know, Mark wants Bruno Fernandes to stay. I know he's kind of been frustrated him at some points in the season the way a lot of fans have, but overall, Bruno Fernandes, he's always had a lot of fans here on the United stand, and we absolutely, well, I can only speak for myself, I absolutely love him, and Mark wants him to stay, I want him to stay. That's the situation we're in at the moment. And Mark, I'm sure, will have his say on the evening show when he joins you guys later about the Bruno Fernandes situation. But yeah, he does think it would be outrageous if we got rid of Bruno Fernandes, like a lot of you guys do. But look, everyone, that is this Saturday show done and dusted. The Bruno Fernandes news came out of left field. Let's hope there's not truth. There's no truth in that. I've just been told, I've just been telling something in my ear. Okay, yeah, okay, sorry guys, I'm being distracted, But look everyone, make sure you get your likes on the video. Champions League final, watch along on That's Football later. Make sure you tune into that. Who is going to be the winner, Real Madrid or Borussia Dortmund? Who do you want to win? Do you want Dortmund to win because of Sancho? Do you want Real Madrid to win because you just Want to see Real Madrid win? I mean, what do you want to happen? Get in the comments down below what you want. Get in the comments down below about Bruno. Any concerns you have right now over the situation in terms of the limbo that we're in over the manager. Keep your comments coming. I love to hear what you guys have to say. Last but not least, super chat from Robert McCormack. Bruno agent's been trying to get him a move for a month. Robert, what do you know that I don't know? What do you know that I don't know? Please message me, because what scares me about the Bruno thing is it's literally from Romano. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to let you get on with your Saturday. I'm going to let you get on with your Saturday. I'm going to love you and leave you. I see there's some people in the chat that want Madrid to win just because they don't want Sancho to win, which is, I hate watching it at its finest. If Sancho wins it, it's more money on his price tag. It's more money on his price tag. And, you know, he's a United player at the end of the day. I kind of want Dortmund to win for that. But also, Madrid are just serial winners, aren't they? And I really like Bellingham, and it'd be great to see him win it. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Get your comments in down below, like the video. Any breaking news, we'll be back with you. Mark on the evening show later. Also, Champions League final on That's Football. Don't miss it. I'll see you on the next one.